And welcome back, guys. I'm so glad to be with you guys in this episode. Let's just remind ourselves about what Manasseh is about.
So we exist to identify, recover, and prevent spiritual abuse through sharing our stories, through conversation, and through community.
Yep. And this is a space where we come together to share and process spiritual abuse through personal stories, which have significantly impacted our lives. While these stories may be controversial, our goal is not to gossip or slander others, but to create an experience where people can say, Manasseh, God has made me forget all my trouble. Um, Welcome back, guys. As you can see, we have a new co-host right now.
Yeah, I've been on before.
She has been previous episodes, which are great episodes, by the way.
Check 'em
One
out.
of my favorite, probably my favorite episodes, to be honest. Not because you were there, but because it was just a great topic, and that was the cherry on top having you there too. So, Ruben's been super busy
Mhm.
with Natalie. They're growing their family and just having a great time. He's super involved in his job and just been such a great couple months for him. And so couldn't be with us today, but today Liz is going to be filling those shoes pretty well.
I hope so. Miss you already, Ruben. Miss you already.
We'll see. Yeah, yeah, I miss him too. Anyway, not
I mean, I'm
I
going to see
see
you later
him
on.
like all the time. So anyway, but it's great to just kind of come back, and it's been a couple crazy months for us too.
Yes.
We've been a bit busy, coming back and forth different places, and just been a really good couple of months. So I know the last episode, it was last year, and I know this is still season 2 for us, and we just wanted to continue on this journey that we set out to be. For me and myself, I really do feel like this is something God has pretty much called us to do.
Mhm.
And it's so funny because we continuously run into people from our past and new people that we've met across the world, really, that have experienced, unfortunately, some form of spiritual abuse or abusive systems in a sense. So, yeah. So today, we definitely wanted to kind of jump back into topic, and I know the last couple of episodes, these last years have been really about just kind of processing, explaining what spiritual abuse is. If you don't know what that phrasing means, or that really, even if it exists, I would suggest going back into our Spotify playlist or our YouTube channel to just really kind of dive into that some more. I think there's some great content there about that. But if you are here and you're watching us, you probably already know what spiritual abuse is, and you could resonate a lot with just whether you were at our church back in the days, or you're at our church right now and you've heard our stories. But overall, I think everyone can connect at some level with the stories that we've told on this specific
Mhm.
podcast. And so today's topic is about the good times. And I know that kind of sounds weird coming from a podcast about abuse, unfortunately,
Mhm.
but there's a couple things that we wanted to hit about that, and I wanted to kind of discuss that today. But let's talk about what is the word of the year in a sense. Just talking about the guidance that we have about where we're at right now. So
Yeah, so our local church that we're at right now, this is something that we started learning there.
yeah,
Every year, the leadership there and our pastor they get together and they'll start praying for like the next year, basically, what the
mhm,
main like focus of that next year will be, and then asking the Lord to really like give them a word that would really carry every lesson that is learned throughout that year, to the teachings, the gatherings, the get-togethers, any kind of like outreach stuff that we'll do or anything like that will be in this one word. So, and it really does help to kind of like guide throughout the year.
yeah,
This is it might be one word, but it's something so, I mean, huge because you're learning about this like one word. And for our local church right now, the word of the year is hope. So when you think about that, yeah, it's one word, but there's so much inside that one word they get to learn, experience.
Yeah.
And the definition that our church has for that is the joyous, confident expectation of the good not yet seen.
Hmm. Yeah. Um, it means a whole lot to us, this specific concept of the word of the year, because I don't know about you, but I mean, in the past, I've found myself trying to figure out what's like next in life, or what is happening to me right now. What is the universe or God showing me right now? And I know a lot of you guys resonate with that. And I do believe we've expressed this many times in this podcast that there's a level of spirituality with inside of our beings. Like our experience is just not physical. I think there's a lot of proof of that. But this is not this is not about that. But I do sense that a word of the year helps that side of you, of your spiritual life or spirituality, to be able to be guided towards what is the next path. And so I personally think that it's a beautiful thing, and our church does that. And I know a few other people that do it at different in different places in the world, and different like in the business, and also
Mm,
in their creative endeavors as musicians or artists. And so we took that on for ourselves,
yeah,
and we also have a word of the year, and this is why we're going to talk about today about the good times.
yeah. Mhm.
So what is that word for us?
Our word is joy, which gosh, I'm so glad we got such like an uplifting word.
Yeah, it's
Because
better than the
yeah, sometimes they're challenging the words, but this
yeah.
one was very uplifting. So if you're thinking about like joy, like how do I kind of like say like what joy is? So we found a pretty cool definition, Rick Warren. Um, he says, joy is the settled assurance that God is in control of all the details of my life, the quiet confidence that ultimately everything is going to be all right, and the determined choice to praise God in every situation.
Yeah. Yeah. For me, joy has been a really huge blessing to just experience, because I ever since we left the church, I believe that it's been probably the hardest times of my life. Um,
Mm,
I'm not gonna sit here and say that I'm like I have the worst life, have had the worst couple years of my life, or like I just don't have any hope in a sense, because God has really blessed me a lot, especially these last couple years. But but they have been hard for my spiritual life, for my mentality of like
yeah.
my identity of who I am. That's been attacked over and over again, not just by like you know enemies or whatever, it just by myself, or like my own self-worth has been attacked so much these last couple of years, ever since I left the
Mhm.
church. And I could say that this is like the first year that I could say that I have full joy.
Yeah.
And I learned, and this is just something that I kind of, just spoiler warning on the end of all this, is that I had to pick it. I have to
Yeah.
choose to have joy, because life is hard. There's
Yeah.
a lot of curveballs happening.
Mhm.
There's multiple curveballs that could happen in just a second.
Yeah.
Who knows what could happen next? But to know that I confidently can walk through all of those things, whether they're good or bad, with joy, is something that has been a life changing experience for us. So this is why we're here talking about this. But Ruben has also like expressed the desire to talk about the good times. And
Mhm.
if you guys know Ruben, for those who do know him, you know that when you're hanging out with Ruben, he's like bringing up the good times all the time.
Yeah.
Do you
Mhm.
remember that one time? And then he starts
Yeah.
acting out exactly what happened. It's like a retelling of the story. He's such a great storyteller.
I know, I love when he starts, like, recapping things. I'm like,
Yeah.
"That's right,"
Yeah,
and
and then it
yeah,
starts
he does
doing
it so well.
voices. Yeah,
He
yeah.
does it
Anyway,
so well.
so Ruben, he brings that up a lot. So I think it would have been so
Mhm.
amazing to have him. I'm sure there's gonna be way more moments to do that.
Oh, yeah.
But those moments are the moments that I don't think we talk about on this podcast. Like
Yeah.
every single other episode has been about the pain and the suffering and the hurt and the lack of love and or attention or even the unmet expectation or needs that we had during the times where we were spiritually abused.
Mm.
Okay, there's that was hard for me to say back then,
Yeah.
but now I realize after being confirmed over and over again by different people, yeah, that was spiritual abuse. And so now I had to label that, and Ruben talks about that a lot in episode 1, where he goes through this whole process where he learns about spiritual abuse, and he's able to label his experience
Yeah. Mhm.
with an unfortunate label, and it, all that church experience and the people and the events and the conferences and the sermons and just the relationship to all those quote unquote good things were tagged with this abuse label.
Yeah.
And it's very dangerous to do that sometimes, I think, because it wasn't all that negative. It wasn't all
Yeah,
bad.
not every
Not
experience
everything was
was yeah,
negative.
it was horrible, yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
There's some good stuff.
Yeah. So that's kind of what we want to talk about today. That shadow that spiritual abuse covers our memories and those past experiences. So
Yeah. Um, do you wanna give the Inside Out reference, or can I do it?
sure, go for
Good?
it. Go for it.
Okay, so, I'm sure you guys have watched Inside
Watch
Out.
Inside Out.
Yeah,
Number one Pixar film.
it's such a good both of them
It's
are really, really
amazing.
good. So, while we were watching the second one, we, like, both had, like, just, like, moments of, like, "Oh my gosh, the Lord's speaking to me right now," right? So so
We're
what
super spiritual guys. Like I love my
I guess so.
relationship
I
with
yeah,
the Lord,
I'll
and I
I'll take that.
love like
I'll take it.
being able to like see God in everything.
Yeah,
I'm
mhm.
really like that. I love seeing that. So anyway.
Yeah. So, um, there's in the first movie, it really hits on it when you have like two emotions in one memory.
Hmm.
So you'll be experiencing something, and then Joy starts to. She learns that, oh my gosh, Riley is experiencing multiple, emotions in one like core memory, right?
Yeah.
So you'll have one experience, and then you have like this joy and anger, or joy and sadness, or sadness and anger. So
Hmm.
you have these two different emotions, but they're all in the same memory. So that's kind of like what we're going to dive into
Yeah.
today, where not every memory is just like one emotion.
One like
Yeah,
orange one or one blue one.
yeah,
They're mixed. They're
yeah,
like a mixture of it.
yeah. And
So
that's a lot of your memories and experiences when it deals with any kind of like abuse or trauma. There's going to be so many memories that have a mixture of like different emotions in
yeah,
there.
yeah. So when I talk about one of the core memories, which is unfortunate because it has a lot of sadness into it, but the like we talked a lot about sadness in this podcast, but and usually it's because of a person that was spiritually abusing or abusive, or the system was very very abusive as well. And whether it's because of like money or because they were like overworking us or whatever it was. But usually it was a person or some sort of situation that made everything blue and sad, that memory. But and then God is the person that brings the joy, and you have to choose joy. But in this certain memory, I'm sorry, the certain memory, um it was a situation with my dad that really made me sad. It was actually pretty devastating to me when I lost my dad during 2020. He didn't pass away because of COVID, but he did pass away when we couldn't travel. I couldn't go anywhere. Actually, I had just gotten COVID and I was getting over it, and I couldn't travel at all. to see my dad, say goodbye to my dad,
Mm.
and I remember like one of the core memories of that sadness is that I was able to see my dad's funeral through like Facebook Live.
Mm.
While everyone was like on church services and stuff like that,
Mm.
I was looking at my dad's funeral through Facebook Live. So it was very devastating. I still have unresolved things
Yeah.
about that. Um, and I personally didn't really want to talk about it with anyone during that time.
Mm.
I didn't want to even talk to my sisters about it. It was very very difficult to do that, and I don't personally don't know exactly why. I guess I just don't have it. I'm not really good at sharing my emotions like that. But um, there was a few people reaching out, with some great friends
Mm.
reaching out to me and calling. A very few I wanted to talk to. I didn't really want to
Yeah.
talk to a lot of them. There was this one person that actually reached out to me that usually didn't reach out, but in this instance they did. And it was a pastor that was at my church, and he was, looking back, there was a lot of things that I definitely don't agree with. There was a lot of negativity behind a lot of things that was done
Mm.
during a couple years, and so I'll leave that at that as a parenthesis. But that day when I was really feeling like really really bad, um, this pastor calls me, and he had a conversation with me over the phone, and really an encouraging word, and he was able to really relate with his own dad in the moment, and
Mm.
I didn't really understand how significant that was to me at the moment until like time had passed, and it really meant a lot for me to be able to hear that from him,
Yeah.
um, and being able to relate at a level that I didn't think that anyone else could relate to. And I
Yeah.
honestly, till this day, I don't think anyone else can really relate at that point, because I just felt like there was a special connection there. Anyway, so that was a moment that for me, understanding that hey, this man is imperfect. This man
Yeah.
does not has done a couple things that I don't agree with. I personally was met with a lot of love and affection and support from him,
Mhm.
and I'm really grateful for him about that. I
Yeah.
I don't I don't know how to kind of like really I've never really had the ability to just say that, and if he watches this maybe he'll know that I'm talking about him. But
Mhm.
personally am very very grateful for
Yeah.
him and his love in that moment that I really really needed it. So that was a thing that I look back at, and I could easily say that that was one of the hardest times in my life, and that moment really showed me that it's not all bad. It wasn't
Yeah.
all negative.
Yeah. I mean, it was pretty refreshing. It was pretty cool, and I think really what you needed to have,
Hmm.
you know, to have somebody really just like share their love, their
Yeah.
heart. And I think a lot of that is that they really empathized. You know what I mean? So they felt it with you, and you were able to feel it, right?
Mm.
You were able to really be
Yeah,
grateful and
for
have
sure.
that moment,
Yeah.
experience that moment where it could have just been all sadness and feeling like no one cares, or no one,
Yeah.
is wants to check in, or
Yeah.
no one's gonna say anything. But
Yeah.
the fact that he did, like, call you
Yeah.
and shared that moment with you,
For sure.
um yeah, that
Yeah.
was that made it a beautiful
Yeah. And
memory.
like I said,
Yeah.
I don't think anyone would have been able to connect with me at that moment
Yeah.
like he did,
Hmm.
which is I mean, I don't know why I feel like this, but if it was really weird.
Hmm.
Mostly because I didn't really have a really close relationship with him per se. But in that moment I definitely felt really, really connected to him. So I'm really grateful for that.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about you, Liz? Can you give me a good story? One of the good times
So
for you.
part of it for me is I have a hard time like recalling a lot of
Yeah.
events or
Yeah.
memories. So I think that's something I'm still like dealing with. I'm still processing, like going through the happy memories and really, just experiencing the happy memories, and
Yeah.
not like falling too deep into like all the negative side of it. Um, but one memory that's many
Mhm.
memories all in one that I can enjoy is like our dating process. Like,
Oh, the dating process
yes,
in the church.
dating, love
Uh,
story.
which, by the way, it's not the same everywhere.
No,
From something that I just realized, being in our current church.
yeah.
Yeah, not the healthiest
No, it wasn't. It was
when we
crazy.
were there. Yeah.
It was all over the place. Um, but I don't remember all that when I think about our dating.
No.
I remember um just wanting to spend time with you. I remember being all excited because we're gonna go hang out or do something. I,
Yeah.
when you were like telling me, "Hey, I'm gonna come over like after work or whatever," and I'd be like
Yeah.
waiting and like looking out my window trying to
Yeah.
see like
Yeah.
when you're gonna like roll up. And I mean, we would do cheap things. We would get fast food. We would watch
Super
movies.
broke.
It's so broke, and
Yeah.
we were so busy all the time. So
Yeah.
we would be like up really late,
Yeah.
super
Yeah.
exhausted. And a lot of that is because we're so busy, like with our church, and there's a lot of restrictions, and
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it kind of
So
we went on a down low, and we're
yeah. So if you guys don't know the context of that is, in the church that we were dating in, um, there's a lot of policies and procedures
yeah.
to follow.
Mhm.
I don't think that everyone really understands why they say it. They may say it because of accountability or because
Mhm.
you don't want to burn or have like premarital sex. But I don't. I think a lot of it
Yeah.
is very silly in a sense because you're dealing with adults that want
Yeah.
to date, and ultimately it's their decision. There's a lot of advice and sound advice to give. As a matter of fact, I think that one of the reasons why we were told to wait for a year before we dated
Mhm.
is because I dated someone before, right before
Yeah.
Liz.
Mhm.
And so I think there was a lot of wisdom in that, saying, hey, wait for a little bit to kind of figure out if because you never know, at our age, we're like just maybe a little bit too desiring to date. And I don't know.
A little eager,
I'm a
maybe.
I'm a guy. Like I have needs and stuff.
But it was the wrong conversations though,
It was definitely the
right?
wrong
Like
conversations.
instead
Yes.
of like don't do this and do this and don't do that, like that's the wrong conversations. Like so
Yes.
when I was like, okay, like I think I like ish, right? Like so I have to tell somebody. It was the first thing, you gotta share
You have to
with
share
somebody
because it's
like
a
who
rule
you're
of
interested in.
protocol. It's
So I'm like, hey,
crazy.
I think I like ish. And then from there, like you would want it to be a conversation like, okay, well, yeah, like what do you like about him? And oh yeah, you want to get guidance like through there.
Yeah.
But instead of like the getting involved of wanting to experience it with you and like know what you're feeling and
Hmm.
thinking,
Yeah.
it's like, okay, well, have you talked to your parents? Have you told the pastor?
Have you
Okay,
told the pastor
have you
is
told
usually the
that's usually
first
first.
thing.
Have you asked pastor?
Let's be real
Um,
now.
have you talked to the parents? And then from there, depending on who where you're at in leadership, there's
Have
like
you have
different
you told your
requirements.
leader and
Yeah. There
let the leaders talk and
we were asked to wait.
yeah.
Well, actually, like you were told like to wait. Like,
Yeah.
hey, like wait a few months,
Yeah.
And there's not really like a reason given other than that's like the procedure.
Yeah.
Is like you like each other, okay, then you separate. Is like how this procedure went to like verify your feelings, I guess, is what the purpose of that
I guess. I don't
was.
know.
So, but in a
Sure.
lot of situations, it just ended up having the reverse effect.
A lot of
Like that whole
situations.
like, oh, like if you tell me I can't have something, I want it more kind of thing. I think
Yeah.
that happened a lot more with people, or they just felt like they're not being understood. Like,
Yeah.
especially
That
as we
happened a
got
lot.
older, we're
Yeah.
at an age where we could
We
marry.
weren't young.
We weren't.
We
We're
were
like
like
25.
20. Yeah. Yeah. Well, 23, 24, and we got married at 25. But yeah, and then we had to wait and wait and wait. Like I
Yeah.
had to ask three pastors to actually officially date.
Mhm.
But to be quite honest with you, we started dating like pretty much couple
Right away?
weeks or months
Yeah.
after we
Uh-huh.
started liking each other, and we told we
Yeah.
talked to our parents and
Yeah,
like,
our
hey,
parents knew.
like this
Yeah.
is a girl I like, and my dad and mom at the time, they were like, oh, is that the girl that we met? I'm like, yeah, yeah. She's like, oh yeah, that's the girl I like, blah blah blah. And I'm like, oh, okay, well, they were very adamant about
Yeah.
that.
And my
But
parents were like, "Oh, Ish is cool. Okay. Yeah." You
yeah,
know?
it's just cool.
Of course he's cool.
um anyway, so there was a lot of stuff, and it really pushed us to like do things undercover in a sense,
Yeah.
and it brought a level of shame, to be honest with
Yeah.
you, which I think it's very damaging for any relationship at the
Yeah.
beginning
Mhm.
of any relationship, I think. But overall, you could we could choose to kind of look at it back and have like this reframing of that event, of that
Yeah.
whole
Mhm.
story, of like we couldn't enjoy our youth together, right? That could be something that we could easily say at
Yeah.
this point.
We can be angry about
We
it.
could be
Yeah.
angry about it, we
Mhm.
could be a bit bitter about it, and there's moments,
Mhm.
as you guys can see, I'm not totally
Yeah.
happy about this whole
Yeah.
experience, but I do see a way to reframe that, and I love that like we could talk about it and actually find the joy in it. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? How many
Mhm.
times did we go to Denny's in the same
Oh
booth, the same waitress,
Okay, yeah.
and
So
like her bringing the same freaking coffee over
this
and
was
over
like
again?
our secret date we would do like multiple times a week.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
So I lived like down the street from a Denny's.
yeah,
And so Ish would go pick me up. And so since Denny's were like open all night,
yeah,
we would go to this Denny's, okay? And we would bring like board games or like
yeah.
cards and we would lay it out on the table. And since we were like broke, so we couldn't like
Hmm.
buy like food, we would buy coffee.
Yeah,
There was like
coffee,
this
pancakes.
cappuccino, hot cappuccino that they had that we
Yeah,
always got it every time. And that was our regular date, like every
yeah,
week.
yeah,
And we would just, and we would be there sometimes all night.
yeah.
We'd
And
be
I
there
already
late.
I knew Liz very well at that time already because we were friends from like a couple years already,
Yeah, we've been friends for a while.
and but never in a romantic setting in a
Yeah.
sense. So
It's
there's like
different
there needs to
conversations.
be a shift and
Hmm.
change. Anyway, you guys, a lot of you guys know that already,
Hmm.
but for us, it was something that wasn't really ever taught or explained to
Yeah.
us. Instead, it was like separate, which makes no sense. Makes no sense. Sorry, it just doesn't.
Yeah.
And so instead of like putting that level of like shame on that
Hmm.
or that shadow, I think bringing it into a more of a coaching and like, hey, let's go out more. Let's like all go together in a group and stuff like
Yeah.
that. That's all
Hmm.
I think really good and healthy, I believe. But yeah, that's one of the good times. Like I remember those good times. I'm
Hmm.
really grateful for those times, and I'm also grateful for the people that were around us during that time,
Hmm.
which is like leads me to the next one, is our friends.
Yeah.
Like when I got to the church that we met at, and unfortunately all this other stuff happened, in the negative stuff that you could see season 1 and 2 about. We started. I started like just coming to the church because I moved to California and I didn't know pretty much anyone. I only knew really my sister and like my niece and stuff, and that's pretty much it. Like I had my family here, and then I also really that's it. And so going to the church was my way of like socializing,
Hmm.
and I know that's a lot for you guys. Like I know, a lot of people go to bars to socialize, people go to like social events. Where else people do? Where do people meet? Like clubs, I guess. What else? I
Um,
mean, coffee shops, maybe. I don't know.
yeah. Any
Just
kind of
meet
sports
sports, right? You
or
go to like, yeah, you go to
games
games and
or
stuff. So those are social
clubs,
events. But for
teams.
me, I grew up kind of like in a religious home, in a Christian home. So going to church was a normal thing for me, and I think a lot of you guys might resonate. And some of you don't even want to hear about church or go to a church because you just had a lot of negative experiences,
Mhm.
right? So I totally get that. But my point is, like, when I got to California, this church was where I met everyone, and little by little, I started meeting some of my best friends that are
Yeah.
still with me today,
Yeah.
my road dogs. And so I remember my friend that I was in Whittier, and I would drive all the way to freaking the IE to like to go to the services and Bible studies and all the other stuff, and I would have to pick up people sometimes. And thank
Mm.
God I was able to buy a car and just drive around. Anyway,
You were the designated
I
driver.
was a designated
Like,
driver. It was
not like that, not like drinking driver,
oh
but
yeah, I
like
was a drinking
he
driver.
was the only person who had like a car, in our whole like
Yeah, very few.
age group.
Yeah, which is
So
weird.
he would pack out his little car.
Yeah, my little Kia that broke down
Poor
multiple
Kia.
times. Anyway, yeah, so my friends, I got getting to know them. Like, first off, the framing of it is like, hey, I bought a car to be an Uber driver, unofficial Uber driver for a lot of people, right? And that could be probably the reframing of it. But my thing is, what I get from it is the joy that I had in the moments of like connecting with my brothers that I have now, and like just being able to get to know them and grow a brand new family. Like I have like friends and family in Guatemala that I truly love, that I consider like my brothers. But getting a new set of brothers here, and some also like some sisters that I feel like I truly care for too. It's been amazing too. So, what
Yeah.
about you?
Is there like one like memory that sticks out to you the most? Or like, man, if our pastors knew this, like what would they tell us?
Oh, okay. So there was one time. It was like maybe a year later or something like that. Since I was there, we went to these homes. They were called discipleship homes. That's as generic as I could get. Discipleship homes where a bunch of like people or guys would live with a couple, and I actually had the fortune. I used to not like it, but now I look back at it and I think it was a very good blessing for me to run one of those. I was one of the leaders in there. But I went over to the one that was there, and I was like 24 or something like that, 23, and the guys were all like just hanging out and stuff, and it was just like a guys' night, man. Just we were just chilling and eating junk food and stuff, and for whatever reason, they had gloves, like boxing gloves there, boxing gloves. Okay, so this is like the
That's not
first
good.
like
It's
couple
just
months that
not
I was
good.
there. They had boxing gloves, and so a lot of these guys were very very outspoken, and they started freaking handling discussions or like beef or disagreements with boxing. So they, I remember two matches very vividly. That one of them, I think one of them lost a tooth in one of the matches, and to this day, I'm like, why did we do that? Like that doesn't make any sense in a church. Anyway,
Were
so
you just like, all right, go ahead,
yeah,
keep
I
going?
mean, I was having a good time. I love boxing,
Were you
so it's
placing
fun.
bets?
No, I wish I did. I wish I did. I knew someone was gonna. I knew my friend Joe was gonna win. Anyway,
Nobody recorded this.
no, I mean it was a long time ago, and our phones did
Ah,
not. I'm kind of aging myself now,
that would
but
have been
like
great.
I didn't have the technology was really not at that event. Anyway, that was crazy. I love that, even though for me the experience of the discipleship home was not the greatest experience, and I know a lot of you that have gone through those may not
Hmm.
feel like it was a good experience for you guys, and I definitely do feel for you if you did have bad experiences, and then maybe you don't can't resonate with that. And this is not us like trying to open up wounds. I'm just we're really trying to bring out the good times and wounds and hurt that might have happened. And so for me, that experience really opened up like, oh, this is kind of like a brotherhood type of deal, right?
Yeah.
And truly was like I don't think I'm close with all of them anymore per se at that level, but I know that we've created a bond there, and yeah, and so there's just a lot of moments like that that was really really a lot of fun.
Yeah.
What
Like
about you?
what?
Like with friends, like what's a memory that you like? I feel like you
Um,
remember.
I mean, some of my favorite memories. I do have one which I always think about, and it like always makes me laugh. I lived in a disaster home that was for the girls.
Oh
Right? You
yeah,
remember we were over
yeah.
there?
We were really close to each
Yeah,
other
we
actually.
lived like down the street from each other,
Yeah,
something like
like
that.
maybe like yeah,
Yeah. So,
quarter mile away.
I'm living with a bunch of girls that like are around my same age. I remember we were getting ready to do like the Daniel fast
Yeah.
for the whole church, right? So, with Daniel fasting, you can't have like meats or sugar. I'm trying to remember what it is now. It's basically like fruits, vegetables. Like,
Yeah.
is that
A
it?
lot of
Is that
organic stuff,
yeah.
pretty
Right.
much.
So, we were doing it as a church.
This is a thing that
Um,
everyone did.
yeah,
Yeah.
we always did it. And so we had like a really, it was me and one and two of the other girls that lived there. We had like a really like long day. We were just, I don't remember if we were doing an event. We probably were, but we were like out at the church like all day. And we're like, okay, we're starting the Daniel fast tomorrow. We have got to make sure we get home to have a final meal. So we're just like wanting to eat. So we like made a plan. Okay, like we're gonna leave like at this time. Okay, okay, we're all gonna get home. Okay, okay, okay. Like, do you want to stay after or hang out with other people? No, we're gonna go home. We're gonna eat.
Hmm.
So me and two, and they were two of my closest friends at that time too. I still talk to them too. Not as much, but I love them. We're like, okay, we're gonna go home. We're gonna grub. So as soon as like we were done, like we all like made eye contact. We're like, let's get out of here.
Hmm.
And we drove home like so fast and we grubbed. We
Yeah.
went through that fridge. We made some food. We were like super silly, ridiculous. We all had our own individual accents that we would do
Oh yeah, I
during
remember
that time.
those.
And we had like
Oh my
nicknames
god.
for
Yeah.
each other for like our alter egos. Okay,
Alter
dude,
egos.
I was like 21, 22. Okay, like we're just young and ridiculous. Okay, and hungry. So and I remember we were just all around like we're in the kitchen, we were around the little like the divider there, and we're just stuffing our faces, using our stupid, ridiculous accents. Oh yeah, that's where those ultra eagles were born. That night they all got names.
Oh.
I'm not gonna rename those. Some things need to stay private, so I'm not gonna get into too much detail. But that is one of my favorite
Yeah.
memories that we all got to have together.
Yeah.
So when I think about that memory, I really do think about the good in that memory. You know what I mean? Like I really don't think about unless like I really like start thinking about it. Is the fact that we were always like kept busy all day, every day of the week. You
Yeah.
know, and even feeling like that, like I don't want to say forced to fast, but you almost felt like you were being forced
Yeah. Yeah, because everyone was super,
to
super
participate.
busy.
Yeah,
Like we would have an event or a thing to do every single day, Monday through Sunday almost.
mhm,
Like Saturday nights were like off days sometimes,
yeah.
but you would just hang out with the same people again, and it
Yeah,
felt
but I'm saying like the
yeah.
fasting part of it, like
Right, right, right,
you
right,
you felt like forced to participate, and
right.
it wasn't really, you didn't really
Yeah,
felt like okay, this is like optional or to
yeah,
really really get into it like on your own and
yeah.
why you're fasting. It was
Hmm.
like you're kind of told like we're gonna fast because we want to
Yeah,
see this and we want to see God's hand move
right.
and so yeah so
Yeah, and you're
uh,
not supposed to really tell anybody you're fasting, by the way.
yeah,
But whatever.
that's a whole other topic on itself.
Yeah.
But that's see,
Read
but
your Bible.
yeah, but that's that's the
Hmm.
spiritual abusive part of it. You know what I mean? And it's not like someone's like really has their hands on you and you're experiencing like physical abuse, but it's the manipulation of it.
Yeah.
It's that manipulation, and that manipulation. It really starts to you start to determine like what Christianity is,
Yeah.
and who Jesus is. You start like, building this relationship that's all over the place and
Yeah.
it's all messed up.
Yeah, that's good.
So, but that was a really great last meal. That was a really great memory. I had so much fun.
Yeah.
So that's one that
Yeah.
I do think of.
Yeah. I always think about, and I'm really grateful for this. I think I've said it before, but um, I'm starting to believe that work and fun, creativity, family is all really part of your identity. You know how some people say, you don't want your job to be your identity and stuff like that. I think what they mean is you don't want your position to be your identity, but like what you do with your hands and what you do, all things should be done unto the Lord. And I truly believe that the spirit that everyone that I met in that church in the moment had a desire to do things unto the Lord.
Yeah.
Um, I and that's a really big concept that I think it would probably be too much to like really unpack right now. But ultimately, what I want to say is that there was a lot of work done, guys. Like I said before, just right now, we had an event Monday through Friday, and then Sunday the whole day. Like,
Mm.
when could you do laundry, work, just have a social life, see your family. Um, oh my gosh, there's so many things. One thing that I
Date.
love, date,
Yeah.
just do or just have your regular output of your own creativity,
Yeah.
like
Mhm.
start a band or do a painting or like all these things that are available to the experience of living
Mm.
were sometimes not possible.
Mhm.
And I know some of you guys are like hearing me like, what? What do you mean? Like, yes, it was not possible.
Mhm.
It wasn't possible because we were all pretty much indoctrinated to focus on one thing, which was the mission and vision of that house. The thing was that one thing I'm learning now, I'll get to my point, is that the vision and mission should align of the house, let's say, should align with your own personal vision, mission for what
Mhm.
God or what you are created to do, what you feel like you were born or the universe or whatever you believe in right now at this
Mhm.
moment is that you should align yourself with that. I
Yeah.
believe that with work. I believe that with creativity. I believe that with marriage. I believe that with friendship. Like sometimes your friends are so negative that they're aligned with whatever they want to do. They just want to veg out, smoke pot all day, drink, or like do whatever the heck they're doing, or just be negative and just come together and be negative or whatever it is. And they're aligned with that vision. That's their vision. They have no vision, right? And so it's beautiful to be in a house that does have a vision and mission and an experience to go to, but not at the cost of who you are, of your identity, of what God created you to be.
Yeah.
And so that's the thing that I'm like really grateful, and I'm coming to the good times right now. Is that the work that we did? Like I personally love work. I do enjoy it. I thought for a very long time I was a workaholic. I don't know where that really comes from. I think I might have problems like that, but that's something I'm trying to deal with right now. But I do love work. Like I love getting into something, a room full of people, and understanding what the problem is and solving it.
Mhm.
Like building things and making sure that customers are having a great time and they're loving the product and loving the services that we're providing. I love the fact that we have a team of people that want to do good and want to bring new things into this world. And like band like our band, I love that fact that we're creating and generating new ideas and we're doing the work. And all the things that I am today I could not be without the work ethic that I learned at the church that we're at.
Yeah.
I think my dad really did show me the standard of that, and I understand like what he was, because my dad really worked a lot. Like he worked a lot. And I think
Mhm.
maybe that's where I get it from, of just like the workaholic mindset of things. But the actual execution of things, I really am grateful
Yeah.
for my church, because we were having choir practices, band practices. Like I would see these musicians like every 2 days,
Mhm.
and all of them were amazing musicians. Like the young people that we were working with at the time,
Mhm.
they were amazing too. They were so hungry and willing to learn and grow. Like that experience of being with people that want to achieve something
Yeah.
is powerful. It is a
Oh
beautiful
yeah.
thing. And I
Mhm.
think when you are scarred by an experience of abuse in a church or in a group of people or any type of spirituality, because this is not just happening in churches, this is happening in anything that is to do with your spirit, with your heart, your soul. Um, and you see that and like, my gosh, I did
Mhm.
all this work for what? And that negativity can come in and it can definitely hurt you. What I want to say this. I do love the fact that that I learned that there, and I'm so grateful for that. I want to say this quote that I saw Alex Hermosi post. Some of you guys know who that is. Great entrepreneur. I follow. Winners define themselves by what they've done. Victims define themselves by what happened to them.
Mm.
And I think what we've done and the times that we
Mm.
were there experiencing the conferences, doing new music with each other, like reaching people that were addicted to whether it's drugs, sex, alcohol, gangs, no hope, no desire to live, no desire, no purpose in life. What we were able to accomplish during that time, for those who are part of my generation, those that you know where we're coming from with all this,
Mhm.
that was in a good spirit and good heart.
Mhm.
And I want to encourage you, don't forget that. Don't forget that the time that you invested was in a good spirit, in a good heart. It's a joy to be able to say that that we as a whole collective, we were able to accomplish something, a mission, a vision that we had in that moment. Unfortunately, sometimes people take that drive and that sense of purpose and that sacrifice that we're willing to do, and they flip it for their own benefit and their own power and their own well-being and greed. And I understand that that's hard and I understand that that's difficult. But don't forget the work ethic and the desire and the purpose that you felt during that time,
Mm.
because you could experience that today with your own vision, your own mission.
Yeah.
Whatever you feel that you're called to, that you created, that you're good at painting, you're good at creating bracelets, you're good at speaking, you're good at comforting people, you're good at music. Like, that's still you. That's still who you are. That's still who God created you to be. I encourage you not to forget that and not to allow a bad experience of abuse of your talents and of your giftings veer you away too much from what you could experience today, the joy that you could experience today. Because that joy that you had that back then, the work that you did, it was in good spirit.
Mm. Yeah. I agree with you, but I also feel like inside of me like push back with like what you're saying too.
Hmm.
Like what you're saying, I'm like, yes, like this is correct. Like I know this. We've had the same conversations where
Yeah.
like we tell each other these things, but
Hmm.
I still feel like in me like pushing like a pushback. You know,
Yeah.
I I do have a hard time like when you say like there was good stuff there, we did good things and like we helped people, like I
Hmm.
still like I have doubt sometimes like were people really helped like and
Yeah.
I have like moments
Hmm.
where I'll remember certain situations like no, like actually yeah, that was a good thing.
Yeah.
You know, that
Hmm.
was a good thing. That was the Lord, really intervening no matter who or what the situation was, like the Lord really came through for people.
Yeah.
And there's so many other times too where I'm like, yeah, no, that was not good.
Yeah.
That was not good
Yeah.
at
Where you
all.
catch yourself that you were the
Yeah.
abuser,
Oh
that
yeah.
I've had it. Me and Lexi,
Hmm.
from the first episode of season 2, we talk about that. We're like,
Hmm.
where I was a leader and then she was someone that was following us,
Hmm.
and she went through spiritual abuse on our watch,
Yeah.
on our my leading, you know.
Yeah.
So yeah, I don't think that everything was bad though. I
Yeah.
don't think that everything
I
that
agree.
was
Yeah.
spoken over the pulpit even. and I know this might trigger some of you guys, and you might not agree with me, but not everything was wrong.
Yeah.
There was a lot of things that were said over and over and over and over and over and over and over the same thing on Sunday, same thing.
Mhm.
um, but a lot of other things they were good,
Yeah.
and I think that there's some level of good from that. And but I understand the conflict.
Yeah.
Like I go through that too.
Yeah.
Even me saying what I just said right now,
You had that
like the
same, like,
work the
yeah.
work thing,
Mhm.
like I'm having the time of my life right now at work. Like my joy comes from the work I do because it's very purposeful, not because of my title or
Mhm.
because of what I'm doing, but because
Yeah.
of the intent that I had.
Yeah. And then let me just, like, really quickly, like, saying that, like, but by ish or by us saying that, like, not everything was bad, we are not validating abuse or the abuser in
Yeah.
any way. Like,
No way. No way. Yeah.
that's not like what it
Just
is.
go back to season one,
Yeah.
guys.
But it's just such a conflicting feeling or
Yeah.
feelings of emotions, to agree, like, yeah, like, there was some good, there were some good nuggets, there were some good, like, words or, things
Yeah.
spoken, and good moments, and, times of good environments, but it's not validating,
Yeah.
that person
Yeah.
who might have cultivated, like, maybe a handful of, like, good moments, but overall, really
Yeah.
contributed to majority of harmful or hurtful
Yeah.
moments. So we're not validating those of cause hurt, but validate your good moments though.
Yeah.
Validate your good memories.
Yeah.
N- Try, if possible, to not throw them all
Mhm.
away.
Mhm.
Because whether we like it or not, those experiences have
Happen.
led us to who we are today,
Yeah.
and they are able to help us to make different decisions today
Yeah.
also, which is, I guess, something that we want to share to kind of sum everything up. um, is like when you're going through, like, replaying those memories and experiences, you have the opportunity to, like, correct, like, what happened that was wrong, and to give you a new point of reference. So you can go through that memory, like, yeah, this is really good, this happened. And then you start to remember, like, the not so good, the bad or hurtful
Yeah.
or abusive stuff. You can reshape what you learned wrong and then move forward with the right perspective,
Mhm.
so, like, even like with us dating, like, it's a simple one to reflect back to. Now I know, so if I come across a couple who wants to date, or, when we have kids and then they start dating, when they start sharing about, before they start sharing, about who, like, they're attracted to, is having conversations about their bodies and, their sexuality, and
Mhm.
how to respect themselves, and how to, um, make sure that they are responsible for themselves and their
Mhm.
bodies and their actions,
Yeah.
and to not have that wrong perspective of saying, well, because a woman does this, she's responsible for how a man views her, or vice versa. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Which is one of the big ones, I think, is teaching people, like, how
Yeah.
to respect, the opposite sex, like,
Right.
in the right way.
Right.
And so that's something that I think will be a really big deal for us moving forward when we do talk to other couples that want to date. And like I said, when we have children, we'll want to not be afraid of those conversations.
Yeah.
We're gonna mess up. We're gonna probably say some maybe wrong
Oh yeah.
things or off the wall things.
For sure.
But but the desire and the attempt, you know what I mean? And even the try to do as much reading and research as we can, to and prayer, you know what I mean? And talking to other parents who, like, have, like, gone through it and
Yeah.
have, had some
Yeah.
good experiences with it,
Yeah. For sure.
and really pulling from those resources. That is a way that I can, take back that situation, and to really do my part so that someone else doesn't experience it that way,
Yeah.
you know? And that's that's something good I can do with those conflicting memories and moments
Mm.
is what I do moving forward.
Yeah, yeah. I think you think you nailed that summary pretty much. I want to leave with some for reflecting questions, just to kind of encourage you guys to stop and think a little bit about this whole topic that you've experienced in the last couple of years, even news that has come out from like different news outlets and stuff like that from different churches about abusive, abusive pastors or leaders,
Yeah.
or hiding things that are being hidden, um, and not spoken about are even being prosecuted now. So I think this is a good time to just kind of reflect on those things when you're triggered and have a new point of reference, like we talked about. So let's just dive in. What memory do you sit with that has two conflicting emotions? Yeah. Second one is there room to pick joy in those emotions? Where could the scale tilt if you had to weigh the good and the bad? Where would that scale tilt on? Would it be on the good side or the bad side if you would kind of look over everything? And then just a word of encouragement for everyone here is be brave with your story, and find someone that you can actually talk to about these emotions because they are real. Um, and tell both sides of the story. Tell the good and also tell the things that are kind of hard to speak about and share about. For those leaders that are listening to this podcast, I hope that you take away, the respect and the reverence that we have for our past. I still consider myself a member of my whole community. I still believe that I'm called to this generation to reach and heal. I'm still very much aware that God has chosen us. And I also believe that in my spirituality that I've had to reconstruct some things. Unfortunately, deconstruct and hurt a lot, but also reconstructed some things. And I hope that you're able to listen to these joyful moments and also reflect that you can also be part of the negative side of things. Like not everything that is being pursued has to be pursued. Not everything that is being told or hidden needs to be hidden or told. Like there's a lot of things that I think we can do better as a whole, as a community. And I just encourage you to be a guardian, be a redeemer for your people, be a guardian for them, because God will be, and He's not gonna let you get in the way. I just encourage you with those final words. Anyway, well, thanks for joining Manasseh.
Yeah.
This is season 2 still. We plan on doing some more,
Mhm.
and we are going to be in different locations.
Yeah. Thanks for listening in. Give us your feedback. Let us know what you think or any other topics that you might want us to dive into. Also, don't forget to check us out on Instagram at manasseh.co. And remember, none of this is wasted. We are still becoming who we are.